Week 8 preview. Let's get it.
Welcome to FaZe Fantasy Live with your host, Lonnie Z.
Welcome to the show, everybody. It's Lonnie Z, and this is FaZe Fantasy Live. Along with me tonight is Jake Hansen, my partner in crime, and we are going to be previewing Week 8, going through all the games. Before we get to that, we're going to recap last night's game between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Buffalo Bills on Thursday night. What's up, Jake? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. What's up, Lonnie?
Hey, man. I am doing good as well. All right, so last night, man, it was a pretty good game. Buccaneers, Bills, 24-18. We thought that it would be okay, but we both had the Bills in this one. We thought that the Bills would win, and they did. Josh Allen had a really good game as far as fantasy and everything. Shakur kind of surprised me. He had 6 receptions, 92 yards to lead them in receiving. And if you can add him in as a wide receiver 3 in that mix, because they need another one. You were saying that in the preview of this, that they need another wide receiver. Gabe Davis just hadn't been doing it. But you also did say you thought this could be a Gabe Davis game. And for fantasy, his fantasy owners had to be pleased because he finally had a good game. And then, Diggs didn't have a bad game, but he just didn't get a touchdown. He didn't have one of those big O, games, but he didn't have a bad game either. And James Cook, 14 carries, 67 yards. Baker Mayfield looked pretty good, 25 of 42, 2 touchdowns, 237 yards. Rashard White, though, still 9 carries for only 39 yards. Now, they used him a little more in the passing game, so he looked good in that role. But, he had 7 receptions for 70 yards. So he had a good game, a decent fantasy game. But still, I'd be worried if I had Rashard White. What was your take on that game?
Yeah, it looked like Buffalo was going to run away with it. When the first half. Well, the whole game it looked like they were going to run away with it. Tampa Bay, they clawed back at the end. They got that touchdown with 3 minutes left, and then they almost got the Hail Mary. I mean, Godwin was wide open on that Hail Mary. Both of the cornerbacks fell down, tripped on each other, and it almost happened. But yeah, the Bills, they've been starting strong, or well, I can't say that about every game, but they look good, and all of a sudden, they start falling apart. Their offense was doing really good the first 3 quarters, and then they slowed down. A lot of bad play calling, and I just think that team is not a top 5 team right now. In the NFL, I don't think Josh Allen looked really good, and everybody else, and like you said, they got Shakur going. We were talking they needed to get another receiver going, and they got him going, and then Gabe Davis did all right, and then Dalton Kincaid did good. But Baker, he had a good game. Yeah. Dalton Kincaid finally, he waited till everybody dropped him to do something. So Baker Mayfield had 21 fantasy points. Rashad White had 70 yards receiving. He had 17 fantasy points. Chris Godwin 17, Mike Evans 12, Kate Otten 8. Josh Allen, he had 33 fantasy points. Yeah, Josh Allen went off. I mean, he had a great game. James Cook he had 67 yards rushing, but 8 fantasy points. And we had Gabe Davis leading the receivers with 23. He had 12 targets. Stephon Diggs had 12 targets. He had 16 fantasy points, and Shakir had 15. And Dalton Kincaid, 17 fantasy points. So they spread the ball out yesterday for sure. Like that's funny because we said that. We said that on the pregame. Like we said exactly what happened is what we talked about. And that's crazy that they ended up doing it, but they still almost lost that game. But we picked them to win. They won, but it still wasn't pretty for the Bills. Nothing's been pretty for them for the last 3 weeks.
No, it hasn't. On the Tampa Bay side, Chris Godwin finally did something for his fantasy owners. I mean, he hasn't been horrible this year, but he hasn't had a big Chris Godwin type of game. It's been usually Mike Evans. Mike was kind of quiet, but Godwin did. He found the end zone. Mike Evans got a touchdown too, so they both scored, but it was good to see Chris Godwin finally, doing something. But yeah, that game was kind of it was what it was. It takes the Bills to 5-3 now, and then the Buccaneers are 3-4. They're just fading fast, man. They're fading fast. That NFC South isn't the best division anyway. So they should still have a chance if they just pick up a few more wins. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not really in a strong division. All right, so let's get into week eight's games. And the first game on the slate is New England and Miami. Now, this game should be a pretty good game as far as it's in their division rivals. Miami should blow them out, but last time they played them, they didn't blow them out. Tyreek Hill had a tough time, and Tyreek was hurt, but he says he's good to go. He says he's going to play. Tua's looked pretty good this year. Mac Jones, man, 7 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. He's just been horrible uh, at times, and then he's been decent at times. You know what I'm saying? Like Jekyll Hyde kind of thing. Ramondre Stevenson, we both said we haven't seen anything out of this guy for the draft pick that we all gave up for him. He really hasn't done much. This whole offense for New England is just a bad offense. It's just a really bad offense. Kendrick Bourne is their leading receiver at 370 yards and 3 touchdowns. And like we said before, you can't trust any of these receivers from this team. And then on the other side, you have arguably the best offense in the NFL with the way that they come at you. Raheem Mostert is a top 5 running back, and Tyreek Hill's being Tyreek Hill, 902 yards already, 7 touchdowns. And Tua's played well. Waddle, we've been waiting for Waddle. We're still waiting on Waddle. This game is in Miami, and I think that Tua and Miami just a little too strong. I expect them to come away with the win on this one. What's your take?
Yeah, I think Miami's still going to win this game, but they have something to prove this week. They lost. They lost pretty. I mean, not too bad, but they lost bad to the Eagles. That they didn't look good against the Eagles at all. But I think they're gonna. I think they're gonna get New England. New England had a good game last week. They scored 30 points. They didn't do too bad on defense at the beginning until the end. But the Bills came back and got them. But yeah, I think Miami's going to get them on this game, man. New England still, there's nobody really there. I know Kendrick Bourne. If anybody has him, I would play him if you have him. Kendrick Bourne has been averaging like 12 and 13 the last 2 games, but that's like the only one on the Patriots right now. Henry and Stevenson, Mac Jones. There's nobody on the Patriots I would play. In Miami, you still got to play those guys, Tyreek and Waddle. And hopefully we see Waddle, get a little more touches this week with Tyreek banged up a little bit, but we'll see. And Mostert's banged up also, but he's playing. Mostert has he was questionable, but they said he's playing. And the weather, they said it's going to be a little light rain in Florida. So, yeah, fantasy wise, Tua, Tyreek, Mostert, Waddle, and then on New England side, I did have a hard time. If you have Bourne, I would play him.
Yeah.
But he's been getting at
Yeah.
least 13, 14 points a game. But he's a little high. He's at 6,200 for FanDuel. That's a little high.
Yeah, that is high.
For somebody that's not scoring over 20. But I got Miami to win this game.
Yeah, I agree. Giants and Jets in New York. Of course, it's in New York. It's at MetLife Stadium. Of course. But this is considered a New York Giant home game, so the field will be blue. Yeah, these are 2 teams that are. I think the Jets have a lot riding on this game. We said a couple weeks ago if they could put together a little streak and get to 500, they'll be counting on their defense, and they still have a good shot at getting into the playoffs. If they can get to 500, and that's where they are. Right now they are at 3-3. They're at 500, and the New York Giants just look bad. They look like a bad team. Barkley when he's on and he's not hurt, he looks good. He looks like Barkley, man. I think that the Jets are gonna take this game. There's not really much to say from a fantasy perspective. I would look at Garrett Wilson still, Breece Hall, Derek Waller, Saquon Barkley. It looks like, let's see, Daniel Jones. Let's see what his status is. Yeah, he's out. So Jones is out again. So then that leaves Tyrod Taylor, to get the start again. And Tyrod hasn't been bad. Matter of fact, he may have, given them a little life. I like the Jets in this one.
I'm with you. The Jets. I think the Jets going to win this game. They're on a little roll right now, and I don't see them stopping against the Giants. I mean, they need to win this game. I mean, it's still early, but they can't lose this kind of a game. They're doing all right. So, uh, especially when the Giants are so down right now. On fantasy wise, Barkley at Jets defense, been hasn't been doing too bad lately. Uh, Barkley, if you have him, you got to play him. But doing like FanDuel, I wouldn't play. I don't know. I wouldn't play Barkley right now. Uh, Tyrod Taylor, like we played him last week. I wouldn't play him against the Jets. I think they said DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner's back, so I wouldn't play. Tyrod Taylor. I don't think I would get this week. And Waller was limited in practice, so yeah. Only person I'd probably do on the Giants is Barkley and Breece Hall. I'm pretty high on Breece Hall this week. I like Breece Hall. I mean, that's one guy that I'm going to be putting in my FanDuel this week. Starting him. If I have him, I'm starting him. So the same with Garrett Wilson. I'm starting him. And even with FanDuel, I like him. And I don't know about Zach Wilson and all that, but I like Jets defense and I like Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. And I like the Jets to win. And it's going to rain. And it's going to rain 51 degrees.
On to the next game. It is the Jaguars and the Steelers. The Jaguars and the Steelers, man, that's kind of, looking at these two teams, the Jaguars are 5-2 and they're 3-0 away. So on the road, they're undefeated, man. That's pretty good. And then Pittsburgh is 2-1 at home. The only loss came to the Niners in week 1. Was that week 1?
Week 1. Yeah.
So they're at home. The Steelers don't have any running game, man. They just can't run the ball. They don't have any running game. They really don't have a passing game either. So if you don't have a running game and you don't have a passing game, what does that mean? I don't know. Maybe you don't have an offense. So I'm not too thrilled about their offense. I do like what Travis Etienne from the Jaguars has been doing this year. He's been pretty consistent. Christian Kirk has emerged as their star wide receiver. Trevor Lawrence, last week we were worried about his knee, and he ran all over the Saints and did a great job. So he looks good, and he's looking good. And remember, with Peterson, man, around this time of year, they really start his offenses and his teams start getting going. So I would expect that the Jaguars will keep it rolling against the Steelers this week. I like the Jaguars. One question mark though is what's going on with Ridley. We've asked that a lot, and Calvin Ridley just has not been doing anything. So that would be a concern of mine because I do own Ridley, and I don't know if I want to play him. I may sit him on my bench this week, even though he does have a pretty good matchup here. But I'm not sure, man. He's my only question mark on the offensive side. I would play Pickens on the Steelers side. Possibly. I don't know, man. I don't even know if I play Pickens, to be honest. I don't know if I play any Steeler, to be honest with you. Pickens might be the only one. Let's put it that way. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, on the Pittsburgh side, I think I would still play Pickens. I mean, he's been doing me well. I mean, the last 2 games, but Pittsburgh just it's hard to trust them at all. I mean, they are squeaking out the wins. They beat the Rams last week. I was surprised in LA, you know, but Deontay's back. He came back last week. He got 10 fantasy points. And Harris and Warren, I think they both scored touchdowns. They were all like, yeah, yeah. I think Harris had 14 points last game for on FanDuel, but they're still not. I still think it's a bunch of carries and not enough yards, anyways, with them. And they're like the team right now. They're squeezing wins. They're like just barely winning. I mean, hey, they're winning, barely winning, or It's like baseball. Single's a single, doesn't matter the suicide, whatever. But yeah, they're not like there's a they're a team that I could really see get beat easily. But yeah, I think on the Pittsburgh side, I would play Pickens and I would play Deontay Johnson if you have him. I mean, just the receivers. I wouldn't play no running back for Pittsburgh right now. And for the Jaguars, 18 Junior is really consistent. He's been doing really well. Um, he's been doing really well, man. He's 21 fantasy points, 21, 34. He's consistent the last 3 weeks. He's been off. So 18 Junior is one I would play. Trevor Lawrence, Christian Kirk, he's been really consistent, 16, 12, 11, 12, 13 points. And Ridley, yeah, you're right. I don't know, man. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if they're not using him. I don't know. I mean, I thought for sure. Like I thought he was going to be the comeback player of the year this year. I really did. I mean that guy was a good player with Atlanta. And then all of a sudden, but he did have a couple bad years before he got suspended. So, um, yeah, I don't know about Ridley. I would sit him. I wouldn't play him. I wouldn't play him.
Yeah.
I would play
No, I agree.
Junior, Lawrence, and Kirk, and Zay Jones is still out. So I mean, as we're talking like this, about Ridley, and then boom, he shows up and gets 100 yards on Sunday. But I mean, he
Right.
he he is a receiver that could or that should. So I'm just glad I see that Christian Kirk still their main target. So and it says it's going to light rain there too in Pittsburgh. So I got the Jaguars to win
Yeah.
though.
Yeah, I agree. Um, Falcons, Titans. This should just be another one of those kind of quasi boring games. Low scoring, I would imagine. The Falcons just seem to figure out ways to win. They're above 500. They're 4-3, and they're 1-2 on the road. Titans defense is tough. Falcons defense is tough. Falcons have a higher powered offense, though. It could be a high powered offense with the guys that they have there. And Tannehill's just really looked bad. Tannehill, do you know he only has 2 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, bro? How he's holding on to his job is, that's a question, that I'm just wondering why. Um, yeah, I don't even know who to pick in this game. I'm gonna go with Atlanta because of what I said. Their offense is better, and when Arthur Smith does use his weapons, they show him that they'll produce for him when he uses them properly. Ritter, um, the guys that I would probably go with from this, if we're talking about if you have your year long leagues, you got to play Bijan. You'd have to play Derrick Henry. You'd have to you need to start playing Drake London because they're starting to go to him a little bit more. I think he can be a wide receiver 3 right now, or maybe a flex option. I wouldn't say like a 1 or 2, right? D Hop, man, I don't know, man. D Hop hasn't even found the end zone yet. So if you drafted D Hop in the 5th round or wherever he was going, you might be a little nervous, like, dang, what's going on? And then Algier, man, he's been really dipping into Bijan's carries, and they're almost splitting that backfield. So, yeah, those are the guys I would go with. I think that I like Atlanta on the road, but this is the kind of game Tennessee wins, but their quarterback play has been horrible this year. What's your take?
Yeah, Tannehill's out. It's going to be Willis and Levis game. Vrabel said he's going to switch off, see who takes it. So I see a big game for Derrick Henry, a lot of touches, old school Derrick Henry. But Atlanta's defense not bad though. Atlanta has a good. I mean, they've been playing really tough. Tennessee's run defense is not the best no more. Bajan, I can't trust him. He might have a headache and throw up in the morning. So I can't trust him. I mean, and he hasn't looked that good anyways lately. So Ritter, London, Pitts, Smith, I like. But Robinson on my side, I don't like him. Not against Tennessee. And then the Tennessee side, I wouldn't take nobody, no receivers, nothing. I mean, you got Malik Willis and you have Will Levis. I mean, I kind of like to see what Will Levis could do, but if anything, I would take Derrick Henry. I could see that dude getting 35 touches, man. at least 30 rushes, couple passes. But I mean, they say Tannehill is out, so but I got I have it's one of those games that or that you think the Falcons should win because the quarterback's out and they're going to play two different quarterbacks. But it's it's another thing. It said it's going to rain there too, and it's just one of those games too. But I'm going to take Atlanta. Atlanta's been squeezing them out, man.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you. The next game, Houston and Carolina. And before we get into the game, what's going on in the NFL with these owners? These owners are sometimes, I guess, you reach a position in your life where you just think that you're like the smartest person that ever walked the face. Who said that Frank Reich was ever a good coach? He's not a winning coach. He doesn't have a winning record. Okay. And then on the other side, you have the Buccaneers, Todd Bowles, who does not have a winning record. He has, matter of fact, a horrible record, a losing record. And do they expect he's just going to learn how to coach and be a head coach? Good defensive coordinator, but not a good head coach. Frank Reich was a good backup quarterback in the NFL. How's about it? Frank Reich was never a true starter. He was never, and he didn't do well in Indianapolis. He got fired there. He had a couple of years with Andrew Luck that he may have looked good. And then I think he got sick. And so everyone felt bad for him. And I get, yeah, we all have sent prayers up for Frank Reich, and it has nothing to do with that. But the NFL and these owners, some of these coaches, these guys are 0-6. And Frank Reich, he looks like he doesn't have a clue. Now, that ownership could just be dumb anyway, because who trades Christian McCaffrey at the trade, last year? Who does that? Because they don't want to pay this guy. Are you kidding me? I mean, it's just ridiculous. So I don't know, man. I just had to get my little rant on about that. With all that being said, I got Houston in this one because Carolina's not even worth wasting my time on other than Adam Thielen. Bryce Young's not ready, at least in that system and what they've surrounded him with. He's not ready. And he's been exposed, and I feel bad for him because he's very, very talented and he's being put in a very bad situation. But then on the flip side, you can look at CJ Stroud, who looks ready, right? 9 touchdowns, 1 interception, but I think he's in a better position and they have better players around him. Even if the players didn't have the big names, the way that Miko Ryans is using these guys, he's setting his team up to succeed. Very similar to the Shanahan way, man, and the way they did things in San Francisco. I like Houston. Stroud is a sleepy start this week. If you needed a streamer or whatever, you could easily start CJ Stroud this week against this defense. Damian Pierce, man, he's burned me a lot this year. If he's on your year-long team, you probably have to play him, maybe depending on what you have, and because there's buys and things. But it's not a bad week to run him out there against this defense. And then you could either start Nico or Tank Dell, either one of those guys, trot them out there. And then you start Adam Thielen. That's what I have. That's what I would do in regards to this game. What's your take?
Yes, the battle of the rookie quarterbacks. Adam Thielen is pretty much the only one I would play. Miles Sanders, he's back. Just saying he's back. Houston's running defense is 23, so he might get he might get some yardage.
Or Chuba?
I wouldn't, or Chuba, but I think they got Miles starting. So, um, yeah, I wouldn't bank anything other than Thielen. He's been really consistent, and Bryce Young, he's going against his other, the other rookie. So it's going to be, I don't know. I could see, honestly, I could see any team. I mean, I could see the Panthers end up winning the game. But you know what? Houston hasn't like went ahead like big time yet. This year the games they won, they haven't like won big. It's just been by a couple points here and there. I mean, they are 3-3, but this game they could go up big, but it is away. It's supposed to be a nice day there in Carolina, but I see CJ having a good game. Their rank is what 29th rank on the pass defense. Tank Dell, Collins, Tank Dell's back, so I like both those guys. I was doing a FanDuel right before we started this, and I know we said we're not taking Damian Pierce again and all that, but man, Carolina's rush defense is ranked 31st. And I seen on their bye, I seen that Damian Pierce was talking about, it feels like my rookie year this year, maybe because it's a new coaching staff and all that. But he's like, we've been working on running plays, and we're starting to get some stuff schemed up. So I honestly, probably would take Damian Pierce this week on FanDuel because he's playing the worst defense, and I know that he's screwed us the past couple of weeks. I mean, he screwed us every time we played him, to be honest. But I think I would give him a chance on this one because it's the worst rushing defense. But I have Houston winning this game.
I agree. Los Angeles Rams, Dallas Cowboys. This could be a good game. Then it could be, uh, a whatever game. Dak Prescott looked good last week against the Chargers. Um, the Rams. I don't know what to think about the Rams. I mean, they lost their starting running back. They traded away their starting running back, and then they lose the guy who replaces him, and then they go get their last year's running back off of the couch, and now he's their running back, Darrell Henderson. Yeah, kind of a mess in the backfield for the Rams right now. And Matt Stafford is kind of looking old, I think. He's starting to look his age a little bit. Cooper Cup is looking like Cooper Cup. Puka Nakua is still looking good. So you can always play Nakua. You can always play Cup, even against this tough Dallas defense. And then on the other side, this might be a good week to play Dak Prescott against this Rams defense. Tony Pollard, he needs a big week, man. He needs to step up and have a big week. And then CeeDee Lamb is the only like absolute that I would play. I would play CeeDee Lamb. This game is in Dallas. I expect Micah Parsons has been quiet since that Niner game. That boy ain't did nothing. He even the last game against the Chargers, he really didn't show up until one of the last plays of the game where he sealed it with a nice sack. But he's been kind of quiet. I expect Dallas to come out and play well. I like Dallas in this one at home. Now, what's your take?
Yeah, the Rams. I thought they were, when they first, when the season first started, I thought the Rams were, they looked better what we thought they were going to be, right? But then lately, they've been kind of come back to earth. They lost to Pittsburgh in L.A. and they had some tough games against the Bengals. They lost and all that, and I just thought they would have with Cup back. I thought they would have just maybe picked up and just kept going pretty well. But it's like they kind of degressed. They kind of dropped a little bit when Cup came back. It's kind of weird to me, but yeah, Cup, Nakua. That's pretty much. I wouldn't play no running back this week for him. I know a Henderson and a Freeman did it all right last week, but Dallas is coming back home. Their defense, you don't know what defense is going to show up, but I like Prescott this week. I like actually Tony Pollard more than I like Prescott this week. I think Tony Pollard might show up this week. I think he might have his first breakout game of the year this week after 8 weeks. He hasn't, he hasn't really showed up and showed us why we drafted him, with the first 2 rounds. But I have a feeling that he might show up this week, and CeeDee Lamb, and I can see Ferguson. So if you have guys on Dallas, I would play him. And I would just play Cup on the Rams and Nakua, but that's it. And I got Dallas winning this game.
I agree. Minnesota and Green Bay. It's a NFC North rivalry. They always play each other tough, man. This is in Green Bay. And recently the Vikings haven't been so great in Green Bay. No Justin Jefferson. And I know Addison had a real big game, but you can't just say, oh, well, they got Addison. It's not that easy. I mean, I expect Addison to have a decent game, but he's not Justin Jefferson. You know what I mean? So Kirk Cousins has still looked good. 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That's not bad. With the 16 TD, they pass more than anyone in the league. I think they're 5% over expected. Passing in the passing game. Madison, I don't know. I'm not sure. Green Bay has a horrible run defense though. And so if Madison was ever going to do anything, this is the week. But I was a little concerned. And then in that Niner game, it looked like Madison and Akers were splitting carries. Madison started off really well, but then Akers got the majority in the second half. So they may do it like that. I don't know. So I'd be leery about playing Alexander Madison this week, even against that defense, which you think that he should be able to play against that defense. But I'd be a little concerned with that play. And then on the other side, you have Jordan Love, who looked really good early in the season, but he's had a few bad games. And the Vikings defense has been a little better than I think people think. Um, Dylan, I know Aaron Jones is healthy and he is playing. So, I think you could probably play Aaron Jones. And Romeo Dobbs is their leading receiver. They still haven't had a receiver really emerge as the guy there in Green Bay. And we're all waiting for Christian Watson to do something. And this would be a good opportunity for Christian Watson to actually have a good game against this Viking defense, who does give up big plays. So, but I got the Vikings in this one. I think the Vikings would get the win. Like I said, I would play, if you have Cousins, go ahead and you can play Cousins. You can play Addison. You can play TJ Hawkinson for sure. And on the other side, you can play Aaron Jones. I don't know about any of the receivers. I mean, if you had Christian Watson and he's just on your team, maybe, run him out there, see if this is his week. I don't know if I'd play Jordan Love though. What's your take on the game?
Yeah, on the Vikings side, they're in Green Bay. It's supposed to be 40 degrees. They said Green Bay hasn't looked too tough lately. I mean, the Raiders beat them, and I mean, the last 3 weeks, it just seems like teams are handling them pretty well, But I like Kirk Cousins this week. I like Addison this week. Hawkinson for sure. But yeah, like you were saying about Madison and Akers, I I think I would take a chance to pick Akers this week if I was a FanDuel. Try low, like a low price, like I just did that lineup I was telling you about, and I actually put Madison in as my flex. But if I really think about it, I think I would switch it up and put Akers in. I have a feeling that Akers is going to keep getting more carries. Because, like you said, Madison started off strong, and then all of a sudden, Akers pretty much took over, it seemed like. I mean, he's breaking tackles. He looks strong. Akers look really strong. So, I mean, I think I would take a chance, man, and run Akers out there on the FanDuel roster, put him in the flex, just pick him first, start cheap. Because
Yeah,
he's going to get some touches, and especially this game's going to be. I mean, this is a division of rival game. It's going to be a smash mouth game, man. You
it's
know,
supposed to rain too.
yeah, it says 40 degrees and it's overcast right now. So it says it's going to be overcast. So, Jordan Love, he hasn't showed anything the last couple of weeks. I don't think I would touch Jordan Love. I know the Vikings defense is up and down right now. They had some good games, they had some bad games, but Aaron Jones, I like Aaron Jones this week. They said he's healthy. Should be no problems. And Dobbs and Watson, they're not really too consistent. Those guys, man. Watson, he's not consistent at all, and Dobbs, he's been inconsistent. So it's kind of hard to pick a receiver from them right now. But I think the only person on the Green Bay side would pick Aaron Jones. And I think I don't know, man. It's tough. It's a tough game, but for being at home, I got Green Bay to win this game.
Yeah, I figured you would.
Well, with the weather, if it starts raining, I got Green Bay.
I figured you would. Yeah. Just like, you go against the Cowboys and
No, I got
you go against
no,
the Eagles and
no.
go against
I
the Vikings.
no.
Now if the Vikings beat the Niners, you're gonna start
Vikings
picking
play.
against them. I
If the
got you.
Vikings play
I
like
got
they play against the Niners, then it's a total different story. But I don't see it in Green
you. Hey,
Bay. I just it's in Green Bay, so I got Green Bay.
yeah, Cam Akers, he might be a sneaky play. Like you said, he's only 5,200. on FanDuel, and he could pop one. But you know who's a sneaky FanDuel play? Like if you're trying to just get someone under the $5,000 mark that could get in the end zone. He hasn't yet, but Brandon Powell, man, he's really emerging. Even he's starting to get targets with Minnesota. Um, like the last game, he had 5 targets, 4 receptions for 64 yards. He didn't score a touchdown. And before that, 4 targets, 3 receptions. Before that, 6 targets, 4 receptions, 43 yards. They're using him more than I thought that they would use him because he's normally a special teams guy. But since Jefferson's gone down, he's actually getting just as much, attention as KJ Osborne, and he hasn't scored a touchdown yet. He's only $4,700. So if you're looking for a bargain guy that could get in the end zone or, at least get you maybe 10 points, 4,700, that's not bad at all at a bargain price. Brandon Powell of the Vikings. All right. So our next game on the slate, it looks like it's New Orleans and Indianapolis. The Colts are 3-4. They're going to be at home. The Saints are 3-4. And these two teams, I don't know, man. There's nothing really exciting about them. But what I do like about the Colts is with Gardner Minshew in the game, it makes them run a more traditional offense, and they're actually built for a traditional offense. They're really not built for what Richardson was bringing, and I'm sure they will, cater to that as next year or whatever. But they're more suited for a quarterback like a Gardner Minshew with Pittman Jr. and with Jonathan Taylor. I think, Downs. I think they're really built for that. Derek Carr, he could have a good game this week because this is not a very good pass defense at all. So Derek Carr could, he could be a sleepy play this week, whether you're doing daily or you're doing in your year round. If you have someone who's on a bye and you need to stream a quarterback, Derek Carr is not a bad play at all. Alvin Kamara has looked good since he's come back, you know, and then Chris Olave. And here's another team that I think just recycled a coach. Dennis Allen. He's proven he's not a winner in the NFL. And when I say not a winner, all these guys are winners because they've gotten there. They're coaches in the NFL, the highest level of football, but they're not proven winning head coaches. And Dennis Allen just another one on that list of old retreads that the NFL is just trotting out there, and I don't know what they're hoping for. Chris Olave, we still haven't seen him break out, and there was a lot of hype, brother. There was a lot of hype about Chris Olave coming into the season. People were taking him in the second round, third round. Yeah. Sometimes, man, all the hype. You hear all the hype. I'm the eye test guy, and it's not just the eye test because all these guys are talented, but it's the system they're in. It's who's throwing to them. All that matters. All that being said, man, I don't know who to take. I'm going to go home team. I'll take Indianapolis. I look for Jonathan Taylor to get more and more and start looking more and more like the Jonathan Taylor that we know. I look for him to have a decent game this week. What's your take?
Yeah, man, it's gonna be a. I think it's gonna be one of those boring games, like you were saying about some of them. It just seems like it's not gonna be a. I don't know, man. I know the Saints defenses ain't too bad. It ain't too bad. It's not a. They're not bad team at all on the defense side. Yeah, Alave, he's been really inconsistent, but they are playing the Colts. They give up big plays to the receivers. I mean, I could see Olave being, but he's 7,300, man, on FanDuel, and that's kind of
It's a
that's a
lot.
that's a little more than mid grade. I mean, I could see him breaking out this game because you're saying you could see Carr breaking out. Um, Kamara's been averaging pretty well. I mean, I would pick Kamara, even Carr's, at 6,600. I would take a chance at Carr maybe. He's not too bad, but he hasn't, he's only been in the teens, 18, 17, 15 points, not too crazy. I would take a flyer on Olave this week though, just because the Colts give up big plays to receivers. But the main one from the Saints, I would take Kamara. And on the Colts side, yeah, Minshew Minshew came out and look what he did at Cleveland, and they're going to be at home this weekend. I just have a hard time picking that guy right now against, but I mean, he did good last week. I mean, I can't go against him, I guess, too much. So I just think there's better quarterbacks on this slate to pick other than Minshew. I know Minshew's cheap, but he's 6,900 now. But I think there's a couple better quarterbacks to take that will do something. But Minshew, he slings it though, man. I mean, they threw over 40 times last week, so
Yeah.
I like Pittman Jr. But like I said, Saints defense ranked fifth, man, in passing. I mean, they're ranked fifth in passing, so that's what I'm saying. I mean, I know the Browns were too, but you know, you never know. But yeah, I like Taylor. The Saints are ranked pretty good on rushing too. They're ranked second, so yeah, it's gonna be. I don't know. I think Saints gonna win this game. I got the Saints. I know they did good last week, the Colts, but Downs, Pittman Jr., Taylor, I would play them. But yeah, I like the Saints.
Yeah, the Saints defense is really good. All across the board. It is. So yeah, it does favor the Saints. You got the Saints. I have Indianapolis at home. And then our next game on the slate is the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders. I have Philly in this game. I mean, there's not a whole lot here. Jalen Hurts, you run him out there. DeAndre Swift, you run him out there. AJ Brown, yes. Devonta Smith, yeah, you play him. You still just wait on him to have that game. He hasn't had a big game, but he's been okay. I mean, he hasn't been horrible, but we've been waiting for him to have a bigger game. On the other side, Terry McLaurin, if you have him, yeah, you got to play Terry McLaurin because the Eagles do give up big plays to receivers. They give something up to receivers. The biggest question, though, is what's going on with Robinson? Okay, we've been saying this for a minute now. Robinson, Robinson, Robinson. What is going on with him? Why isn't he doing anything? Robinson is 6,100 on FanDuel. And, Philadelphia is ranked first against the run, against running backs. So I wouldn't run Robinson out there. Dallas Goddard could have a big game this week because the Commanders, they're ranked 24th against tight ends. So Dallas Goddard, he's a guy that I'd be looking at to play, whether it's in daily like FanDuel or DraftKings or in my year-long league. And like I said, I have Philly in this game, Captain Obvious. What's your take?
Yeah, this is the game that AJ went off when FaZe Fantasy got into the money on the FanDuel on that tournament. So this is the game that AJ went off. Yeah, I see Swift could go, having a good game against Washington's D. Hurts, that's what I was talking about quarterbacks. But Minshew, like I can see Hurts going having a big game. I know he's 9,200. I know Minshew scored 30 points last week with Hurts also. I think they were about the same, but 9,200, man. That's pretty high for a guy. But Hurts, I like Hurts. I like Brown. Yeah, Philly's going to win this game. I mean, Washington hasn't shown anything. I know that they played tough. They went overtime last time they played. I know Philly gave it up a little bit, right? I mean, Philly was up, and then they let them come back. It's supposed to be a little rain that game. But yeah, I got Hurts, I got Brown, I got Swift, I got Goddard for sure this week. I like Goddard on this week. He's been consistent the last couple of weeks. Washington, Robinson. I thought Robinson had a big game last time they played Philly, but I mean, he just scored a touchdown. He got some points, but for some reason, I thought he had a bunch of yards, but he didn't. But I like. I don't know on the Washington side, man. I don't know. I just Logan Thomas, is he going to? Yeah, I mean, is Logan Thomas going to show up this week? I mean, if you have Robinson Jr., you got to play him. Play him. But I don't know. I mean, it's a tough. It's for Washington. I mean, they haven't been showing at all. Philly's rush defense is one. Honestly, they're not really anybody I see that I like. I know Sam Howell had a big game last time they played Philly, but I wouldn't play anybody from Washington this week. I'm going to be honest. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't touch it. I got Philly winning this game.
Yeah. Washington, the only one I would play would be Terry McLaurin. Philly's defense is ranked 31st against wide receivers, bro. That's pretty bad. And it doesn't seem like it, but they made that trade last week and they got that safety, and they needed help there. But there is one thing before we get off this game. Brian Robinson, he only had 8 carries last week, and Chris Rodriguez, he had 7 carries. And there's been some buzz that Rodriguez is going to start dipping into that a little bit. And I don't think this guy probably isn't on many people's radars at all because that run offense is so inept. But he's already outpacing Antonio Gibson as far as carries out of the backfield. So, um, yeah, he's 4,600. I wouldn't play him. I wouldn't play him on FanDuel or anything like that. But just that name, Chris Rodriguez Jr., keep that in the back burner because if anything goes south with Robinson, he's probably going to be their next runner because for some reason, they are not running Antonio Gibson. They just won't hand him the ball. They'd rather pass it to him and keep him in that role. But yeah, I'm with you. I got Philly in that game also. Next game on the slate is Cleveland and Seattle. Now, this could be a big game. Cleveland just squeaked out a win against Indianapolis last week, 39-38, in a game that looked like they should have lost, right? By the way they were playing. So they're 4-2, and now they're going up against Seattle, who's also 4-2. Seattle's at home, but Cleveland's offense, I know they scored 39 points, but it just hasn't looked great. And Seattle, to me, hasn't looked great either. And the better of the two defenses is Cleveland's, but last week they looked like crap, right? On the road. So with this game, I really wouldn't play Geno Smith. I'm not confident in Ford, even though he had a decent game last week. I'm still just not crazy about Ford. I would play Walker. Amari Cooper, if he's on your team, you have to play him. I don't know about Daly, though, if I'm playing Amari Cooper in this game. And then you have DK Metcalf. Now, DK Metcalf is active for this game because he was out last game, but he's back. And the quiet player from that receiving core has been Jake Bobo. He's been kind of quietly having some pretty big moments in some of these games. But I wouldn't play Bobo. If you have Metcalf, you're going to play him. If you have Lockett, you're going to play him. That's who I would play fantasy wise in this game. But I'd still be worried because that Cleveland defense leads in sacks, and they get after the ball. I'm having a tough one with this one, man. I think Cleveland gets it right and wins on the road. And that's hard for me to say. I'm really 50-50 on this game. The matchup predictor has Seattle 65% to win this game at home. What's your take?
Well, Deshaun Watson's out. They rolled him out. Jerome Ford, he was really limited. He was rolled out in the beginning of the week. Now he was limited with the ankle injury, so they don't know if he's going to play. Amari Cooper had a slow game last week. Elijah Moore, he's just been doing whatever. He's 30, 40 yards a game. Nothing too crazy. If Deshaun don't play, I mean, well, then you got PJ Walker going into Seattle. It's going to be tough for Cleveland. It's going to be tough. I mean, I know they squeezed one out last week. They ended up winning that game. The Browns won that game against the Colts.
Yeah, they won 39-38. We both thought they lost, right? It
Yeah,
just felt like
yeah.
they lost that
They
game.
ended up winning
Yeah.
that game. So, but yeah, that's a tough one, man. Going, the 12th man. You don't have your starting quarterback, and you're not going to have your starting backup running back if Ford's out. I think it's gonna be tough for him if they end up if Ford doesn't end up playing. That's gonna be tough for him, I think. But Cleveland's defense is strong though, like you said. Geno's not looking too great. The receivers don't look too great, other than Lockett. Lockett looks. He's always. But Lockett, he, he's been having an injury, but he practiced full yesterday. Kenneth Walker, he's just been a touchdown stud. He doesn't get big yards. He hasn't been breaking like last year. He was breaking big tackles and big yardage last year, but this year he's just been getting in the end zone. I think he had a 100-yard game last week, though. Yeah, I think he had almost a 100-yard game last week, but
Yeah, 105 yards. Yep.
nothing crazy. He only had 12 fantasy points though. But Yeah, it's a tough game. I mean, it's a tough one to pick, honestly. It's like I don't know, man. This is a tough one. I'm gonna go with Cleveland also. I'm gonna go with Cleveland because their defense. I did, Geno hasn't looked good to me at all. So I got Cleveland to win this game.
Yeah, and you know, like you said, it's one of those tough ones, man. I could go either way with it because Seattle's defense is not a bad defense either.
No.
And actually, on FanDuel, if you're looking at defenses, Seattle's defense is 4,300, and Cleveland's defense only 4,100. So, Seattle's defense is ranked higher than Cleveland's this week. So they're thinking that Seattle's defense is going to do better. And they might, man. They might. That might not be a bad streaming defense, going against that inept Cleveland offense. But yeah, I'm with you. I like Cleveland barely by a hair, but for some reason I like Cleveland. All right, next game on the slate is the Baltimore Ravens and the Arizona Cardinals. Um, yeah, Lamar was Lamar last week doing his thing. Can he put together back-to-back weeks like that? He should be able to against this defense. Lamar should do whatever he wants, but they are on the road, and we've said all year Arizona's played tougher than their record. So we'll see. The Ravens are 5-2, they're 3-1 on the road, and Arizona's 1-6, they're 1-2 at home. I like Lamar. You can go Zay Flowers if you had to. If you have Marlon Brown or Hollywood Brown, Marquise Brown, you have to go with Marquise Brown. Um, yeah, I don't like any running back from until Connors gets back, until James Conner gets back. I don't like any running backs out of Arizona, and I really don't care too much for running backs out of Baltimore either. Even though last week, um, Gus Edwards had a good game. He did have a good game, not by yards, but he got in the end zone. He had some good fantasy points. I mean, last week Gus Edwards had 20 fantasy points. He got a touchdown, and so
Yeah, but the other 4 games, 4, 5, 4,
yeah,
5.
exactly. So right,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
So,
you don't trust any
yeah,
running back there. The best running back on Baltimore is
Lamar.
Lamar, right? So other than Lamar and Andrews, I'm not, I'm kind of fading this whole game. I might take Lamar and Andrews as a stack. Zay Flowers, he has a good matchup this week. He had 75 yards last week. He finally got in the end zone the week before, but I'm still not thrilled about Zay Flowers at, 6,500. To me, that's a little much for what you're going to get out of Zay Flowers. What's your take?
Yeah, I think on a main slate, yeah, I would do Lamar and Andrews straight up. If you're playing both times, the main slate, Lamar and Andrews for sure. That'd probably be my guys right there. To be honest, um, Gus Edwards, I wouldn't do it. Zay Flowers, like you said, if you have him on a fantasy, I would take him. If you for daily, I don't know. I would take him. I mean, he's at 6,500. That's a little mid grade, man. So that's a little high for me. But I see Lamar and Andrews having a big game on that side. Cardinals, Kyler Murray. There was some talk that they thought maybe he would play this week, but they just put him doubtful today, so he's out. So I can see next week or the week after, but and then they have a bye. But Josh Dobbs, he hasn't been looking good at all. He's finally came back to life. I mean, he had 16 points last week, but he's been struggling. Baltimore is one of the best defenses right now for passing. So yeah, like you said, only on the Cardinal side, I would probably do Marquise Brown. I don't even like D. Marcardo. They're saying that he's going to start this week, but with Baltimore's defense, I know that Gibbs didn't have a bad game against Baltimore, but like I said, only guy I would probably take on the Cardinal side is probably Hollywood Brown, and I got Baltimore for sure to win this game.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Next game on the slate is the Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs. They're in Denver. They played each other 2 weeks ago, and we kind of laughed at this game. We didn't think it was going to be very, very competitive. Turned out to be a little better than we thought. Patrick Mahomes didn't go off. He only had 18 fantasy points against then the 32 ranked, defense. Um, but that all being said, they are in Denver. I like Mahomes. I like Kelsey. I like Pacheco in this game. Um, Russell Wilson, last time they played, he didn't look he didn't look good, man. He didn't look good at all. He had 8 fantasy points, and he is 12 of 13 of 22 for 95 yards, and he had 2 picks. So I don't know if that's going to change much. The running game for Denver hasn't been great this year. Javonte Williams got hurt and just hasn't got going. And that Chiefs defense against the run is pretty tough. So, Captain Obvious, I like the Chiefs in this one. I like Mahomes, Kelsey, Pacheco. You can even probably throw Rasheed Rice out there if you have him, as your flex or maybe wide receiver 3, something like that. I don't really like too many wide receivers. He's the only wide receiver I do like on that team. Um, but yeah, I don't think it's going to be very close. I like Kansas City. What's your take?
Yeah, so they're saying this could be a little bit of snow, 28 degrees. So it's a little snow game, but yeah, I like the Chiefs. I mean, yeah, last time the Broncos, they had they gave them a game, but I know it's in Denver, and I just like the Chiefs. Mahomes, Kelsey, Pacheco, for sure, those top three. Like I said, the receiving crew is still up in the air, man. Still flip of a coin. Rice is probably the best one out of it. He's been getting a bunch of, he's really consistent right now for the Chiefs. On the Broncos side, it's just rough. I know Javante, he didn't have a bad game last week. He didn't do too bad. He did a little better than I thought. He's finally. I mean, I just see a lot of talent with that guy, and I just don't understand why. Maybe he's still a little banged up. Maybe he's a little. Maybe his knee's still a little tight or whatever. But yeah, like you said, Russell had a bad game. It's just hard in Denver. Denver's having a tough time right now. They're talking about trades. Everybody on that team, they're talking about trading. Judy, Sutton, everybody except Williams, the only name I haven't heard on the offense, and they can't trade Wilson. So on the Denver side, I like Williams. That's pretty. That's pretty much it, man. Judy and Sutton, they had a slow game last week and against the Chiefs. Those guys could break out. I mean, they're really those two receivers are easy breakout candidates, big time. I mean, those guys were, they did all right last year, but only guy I like on that team is Williams this week, and I got the Chiefs winning this game handily.
Yeah, I agree. The next game on the slate is the Niners and the Bengals. Now this should be, if both teams are on all cylinders, this would be a really, hyped game to look forward to. It should be a real good game. But the way that Cincinnati's been playing this year, I don't know, up and down a little bit. Joe Burrow's looked good, then he's looked bad, he's looked good, he's looked bad. I don't know. Jamar Chase has been better lately. And if you have Jamar Chase, you have to play him. And we know that the Niners will give up big plays to receivers. So Jamar Chase is a play. Uh, I don't like Mixon against this Niner defense. And what's going on with McCaffrey? I don't see, he doesn't have a designation right now. It looks like he's fine, like he's going to play. I mean, he just played Monday night. So I assume, I don't think he re-injured himself. He looks fine, like he's going to play. Yeah, Ayuk. I like Ayuk. I like McCaffrey. Brock Purdy it has a concussion, and he's questionable for the game. So he isn't out of a protocol yet. So they're not sure if he's going to play or not. If he doesn't play, that could be huge for the 49ers. But it seems like in that Shanahan offense, man, it's just like, as long as you're not messing it up, he's got you ready, that offense ready to go. And I'm sure he's already scheming as if Purdy wasn't going to play, like getting ready for that. And Devo's shoulder, he's still out. T. Higgins looks like he's good to go, but he hasn't been T. I like the Niners in this game. I like them to bounce back and get a win. They're at home. They should be fired up. And I'm just not settled with Cincinnati this year. They just haven't looked good. They've been too inconsistent. And the Niners have looked actually very consistent. Yeah, they had a couple bad games. Every team's gonna have a couple bad games, but the Niners, for the most part, have looked very, very consistent. I like the Niners in this game. What's your take?
Yeah, we'll see how healthy Burrow is. He had a bye week. We'll see if he's better. I just hope he doesn't just stand back there and just chase all game. Chase and Higgins. The Niners gave us some big plays against the Vikings. They couldn't sack Cousins. I mean, they got to hit Burrow. They got to get in there. I mean, they can't just let him stand there and just sling it all day, or we're gonna have a bad day. We had we we we've been giving up a lot of big pass plays, so we got to get in there against them. I know it's at home, and hopefully that's different, but we can't. The Niners can't lose 2 weeks or 3 weeks in a row. The Niners cannot have 3 weeks, 3 losses right now. So I just, just we'll see. We'll see if Burrow's healthy. That's the big thing, though. You know, we'll see. He has a week, had a week off, man, and Higgins is healthy. Mixon, he hasn't been nothing. I don't see him doing anything against the Niners at all. But I can see Chase and Burrow having a big game. Being honest, I can see it. I mean, it's at home, like you said. If Niners show up and play like they've been before those 2 games, then yeah, it'll be a tough game. But they have to hit Burrow, and that D line is pissed off. They are. They were talking some smack, so I know they want to get in there on them. But yeah, it said Brock Purdy. He was a full participant today. He practiced full today. So I don't. They say he was still in protocol. That's weird. That's weird. Yesterday, driving into work, they were saying on the radio, they're saying most likely he's not going to play. Sam Darnold was going to play. And then all of a sudden today, he's full participant and all that. He'll be the first player this year to play a game from being in a concussion protocol in the same week if he ends up playing. Everybody that was in protocol that week has not played. They've been out one game. So I don't know. He was a full participant though, so that's weird to me. You know, if he's held back, I can see NFL making a phone call saying you can't play him. Honestly, they're doing that concussion protocol stuff right now. I don't know why he would be practicing full if he was, messed up, right? Ayuk, I can see Ayuk having a good game. And McCaffrey, oh, for sure. I mean, McCaffrey, you got to play McCaffrey, but he's 10,000. He's $10,200.
Might be worth it.
Yeah, I see McCaffrey, Ayuk. Even if Sam Darnold's in there, I can see Ayuk having a game. I can see Kittle having a bigger game. If Darnold's in, I can see Kittle and McCaffrey. Other than that, if it's Purdy, then all around you got to play the Niner guys. And I got the Niners winning.
Yeah, it says Shanahan is optimistic that he'll clear it on Saturday. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I agree. I have the Niners too in that game. How did this game become the Sunday night game?
That was before they thought Justin Fields was the next big hype. So
I guess they did, but it seems like now they want Tyson Badgett to be the next big thing. Bears, Chargers. Chargers are 2-4. Remember when the Chargers were 0-2 and the Vikings were 0-2, and the Chargers got the win and became 1-2, and the Vikings were 0-3. Things have flipped since then because the Chargers, they've won one game since that game. And the Chargers, I don't know what's wrong with the Chargers, bro. I don't. They should be better than this. Now I know you don't like Staley.
Oh, you're not. Oh, you're gonna hear me now. Like next, I got some stuff to say.
And the Bears, everyone in the world knows what we think about their coaching staff with Eberflus and Luke Getzky. Well, it seems like they're trying to. I'm hearing a lot of noise about Tyson Badgett, and I think he looks good. I think he looks like a quarterback in the NFL. His numbers aren't great yet, but in that offense, how great can they be? But I think he looks good. I think he fits what they're trying to do in Chicago more than Fields because it looks more natural. The offense looks more natural to him than what Fields, is doing. And I think they're really trying to hype this kid like he's the guy. He's the next guy coming up. So maybe Fields, there's been murmurs earlier in the year that Fields might get traded or, They were talking about Atlanta and all this stuff. Maybe because they knew that what they had in Badgett. Now, I don't know what they have in Badgett, but he does look good. If you watch him play, he looks like he's comfortable out there. Okay. That being said, I still wouldn't play him this week. Even against this atrocious defense, I wouldn't play him. I have no problem playing DJ Moore, and I have no problem playing um, uh, Devonta Foreman either, because they got to run the ball, and I like Foreman. I like what he's been doing. Keenan Allen started off really hot this year, and it's kind of dropped off. Justin Herbert just hasn't looked great. 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions isn't bad, but that whole offense hasn't looked good. And they have Eckler back, and so maybe Eckler will get going now. This is his third game back, I believe, and so maybe he'll get going. But I have to go with Los Angeles on the road. I mean, at home against the Bears, just because the Bears are so bad. And I have to think that the Chargers are going to finally get it done on a Sunday night. What's your take?
Yeah, I just don't think the Bears have enough firepower to win this game. I don't think they have enough firepower. I just don't. I don't. I just don't think so. I just that Badgett, playing. I mean, 'cause it's going to be a high power game. It's going to be a high scoring game. And Roshan is going to be playing. So I know you said Foreman, but I could see him playing Roshan more than Foreman. I mean, they wanted Roshan before he got hurt. Yeah, I see Roshan having a game. DJ Moore, Badgett. I mean, they played the Raiders, man. I mean, they played the Raiders in Chicago. I mean, we'll see. Give the kid another game. Let him play against like a high-powered offense to see what he could do. You know, they just don't have a big offense for them to keep up. I don't think. I just don't see it. They got DJ Moore and all that, but and the Chargers, they are pretty weak on defense. They are. But being said, okay.
That's why I poured me a drink, because I figured I was going to have to sit back and be entertained.
Being said, Chargers, I hope you lose. Okay. I think you're going to win. You're going to win this game, but I hope you lose. You know why? Because Brandon Staley, you need to be the first coach fired after week 8. If the Chargers lose this game and Brandon Staley is not fired, there is something going on with the owner and Brandon Staley, because that is straight bullshit for the fans of LA and the players on that team, because that guy should have been fired at the beginning of the year. Sean Payton would have been probably over there, or somebody else, because that guy cannot coach a team. He cannot run a team at all. He doesn't. The play calling, everything is garbage. Like you said, what happened to the Chargers? I mean, dude, look at that offense. Look at that offense. That defense has players and they can't do nothing. Brandon Staley, Chargers lose this game on national TV. He is fired. I guarantee everybody on Monday morning quarterback is going to be saying that guy is fired. Chargers better smoke Chicago. They better beat Chicago by 20 points. The Chargers have that offense that they should beat Chicago by 3 touchdowns. But they are going to win this game. Herbert, Fantasy, Eckler, Keenan Allen, all of them, I think they're going to have a big game. But Chargers are going to win. But I hope they lose, because I want to see him get fired, because I think that he's not doing the Chargers justice at all.
Yeah.
It's like crickets. It's like,
You know,
okay.
look, I agree with you, man. Staley's horrible. He's another one of those coaches that we're like, what the
Ruining,
hell's going on?
ruining that
You can
kid.
just look at.
He's ruining him. That is
He is.
bad.
He is.
Bad.
Yep. And on the other side, that's what the Bears coaching staff has done to Justin Fields. Destroyed Justin Fields. I mean, Justin Fields is not
I
Justin
just don't think
Herbert.
he's that great.
He's
No,
not Justin Herbert.
no.
But I think they could have got
Justin
more out of
Fields
him
is
than what they did.
Justin Fields is not a quarterback. He is not a quarterback. He's a running. He cannot throw. He cannot throw. I mean, I'm sorry, man. Justin Fields is not a quarterback.
I think he's a quarterback. I think he's all right.
Yeah, a backup, a good backup quarterback.
He might be. You know what? He might be a good backup.
He's not a quarterback, man. Look what Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson came in the league and looked good. Run the ball, could pass the ball, make things happen. Justin Fields cannot make stuff happen. He has one big game and everybody, oh, and then he comes out, we pick him, we think he's going to do great, and he looks like crap, and then he gets hurt. He's not a great quarterback. Sorry, man. I mean, we want to be honest about
You
stuff.
hate these two teams, huh?
No, no, I mean, no, it's not about that, but it's just, but like
I
everybody
know,
wants
man.
to put against this and that. It's like Justin Fields is not a great quarterback. Yeah, Chicago's coaching staff is shit, but I look at this kid Badgett. Like they're all this hype on this kid because one game because he could throw the ball because he could throw the
Yeah,
ball. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
hmm
That's the thing. You have to
yeah,
throw the
and
ball in this league. You have to. Justin Hurts or Jalen Hurts could throw the ball and he could run. Lamar, he's finally starting to throw the ball a little bit and starting to look better, but he still has his struggles. But Justin Fields cannot throw the ball.
yeah. I agree with that.
That's just the way it is. And I'm just upset about the whole Charger situation because you're ruining that team. That team is a top 10 team right now with their roster, and you're ruining it.
Yeah, you're right. They have a great offensive setup, personnel and defense. So, and they're way underachieving at 2-4. You know, 1-2 at home. Yeah, that's just bad. They look like a bad football team. So we go from a really what I don't think is going to be a great Sunday night matchup to a Monday night matchup that I don't think is going to be great either. I mean, the Lions, I like the Lions in this one. I think they're going to get the win against the Raiders, but I don't know. This should just be a one-sided game. It really should be a one-sided game. And these guys are at home. They're 5-2. The Raiders are 3-4. I think Max Crosby's a dirty player too. By the way, I just think he's dirty, bro. He does a lot of extra little hits at the end of the plays and just all this. I kind of think he's kind of a dirty player, man. He's always caught up in some shady looking hits, but he's a good player. He's pretty nasty. But I think he's like old school Raider dirty player. In this game, I like Jared Goff against this defense. I like St. Brown, to do what he's doing. Montgomery didn't practice on Friday, and he's still questionable. He's not ruled out, but he's questionable with the ribs. So it could be another Jameer Gibbs game. And Jameer, he didn't do too bad last week. You know, yeah, they finally used it. That game was a wash though. That game it was never even close because Baltimore just really dominated. I look for them to bounce back and have a good game this week. I'd probably if you have Gibbs, you could run him out there, especially if Montgomery doesn't play, then Gibbs. But if Montgomery plays, then you're right back where you started with Gibbs. I don't think much changes because Montgomery just gets everything. Um, Devontae Adams, man, he's getting more and more vocal. But I'd play Adams against this defense. This defense is tough. This defense is really tough. And Josh Jacobs, I would just not play Josh. If I had Josh Jacobs on my team in year-long leagues, I would be looking to trade him. I'd be trying to find someone to trade. I mean, yeah, he might have a great second half of the season. We're not even halfway yet. But right now, man, he's just I don't know if this offense is just that bad or what, but he's just not looking good at all. I like Detroit in this game. What's your take?
Jimmy G, man. What now you want to play this week, Jimmy G? Now you're like magically healthy. I mean, you got a guy in San Francisco that had concussion protocol, and now he's probably going to play. This guy has a little bruised back. You don't play. Now all of a sudden you're going to play. You have Derek Carr, sprained AC joint, played every game. Played every game. And look at Deshaun Watson out there, wants his money, not playing. Little shoulder bang because because come on, man. Because all about the money. Like Jimmy G, you not want to put your body out there for your team because it's about your money. Play the game, play tough football. Jim Plunkett, Kenny Stabler, play some football, man. Because you know what? Last week, your team lost because of you, dude. Because you don't want to play because you have a bruised back. Come on, man. Because it's all about your identity and all about your brand. Come on, dude. Like if the Raiders, I can't believe the Raiders signed him. You know what? The Raiders fired Josh McDaniels. Jimmy G's gone. He's gone. It's garbage. It's like play some football. Like Deshaun Watson's. Come on, man. He's not playing because he got all that money guaranteed. He ain't gonna get hurt. You know, he's not gonna play for his team. It's like these quarterbacks. I'm so tired of it, man. So tired of watching these guys being just babies about stuff. It's like play the game, man. Like it's football. But now they're getting paid all this money. Now it's okay to sit and not play. It's like basketball with the rest, with the oh, it's a rest game. Come on, man. Play the game. Play the game. There's guys that played every game in basketball, played every football game. But no, now it's like Jimmy G. He gets a little banged up. He's out. I'm tired of the Raiders. I'm tired of him, man. I don't even want to hear his name no more. He did it to the Niners and he's doing it to the Raiders. It's bull crap. It's like they would have won that game last week. And I think it's going to be a little tougher game. The Raiders are going to give Detroit's a little tougher games, a game this week. I think Detroit got showed up last week. I think the Baltimore just ran all over them. I like the way that Detroit played Gibbs. I think I would play Gibbs over Montgomery. I mean, that kid could catch and run. I mean, that kid is fast, man. That kid is talented. And Montgomery, I would play Montgomery, but I mean, but look what's happening to him. This is the second game already. They're beating him up, man. They're beating Montgomery up. You know, it's like split the carries with Gibbs. I know Montgomery could go off one game like he did against Green Bay, but look, he's hurt again. So, but the Raiders, Devontae Adams, or I don't know, it's a rough one for me because Detroit, they play good defense. I can see, Jimmy G just doing his little 200 yards, and I see Adams having a good game. I see Jacoby Myers having a better game on the Detroit side. Goff better watch out. I know you're talking about Max, but a Mad Max is coming for Goff. Goff stands there. He's gonna get smoked. He's gonna get smoked at least
Well,
once.
he's listed as questionable. It doesn't say what's wrong with him, but he'll probably play.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
imagine.
And St. Brown, I see St. Brown. The Raiders is only 10th in passing defense, so they're not too bad. But I see St. Brown having a good game. I see Goff having a good game. If but yeah, it just sucks right now. We don't know about Montgomery. He did not practice, so I see that Gibbs will be starting that game. So if you have the Lions, if you have Brown, if you have Goff, Gibbs, and Laporta, I play him. And you know what? The Lions. I think they're going to win, but I think the Raiders are going to give them a little tough game.
Yeah, I could see it being a tight game. I'd like the Lions too in it. I just think the Lions are a better team all around, and yeah, they've had a bump. See, that's what happens, bro. You start saying, "Oh, I think they're a Super Bowl contender," and then you start putting that moniker on them, and then all of a sudden they go out of town and they get their butts handed to them by Lamar. And so, but I think that they are a better team than the Raiders. I just still don't know what's going on with Josh Jacobs, man. I can't figure that one out for the life of me. And Devontae Adams is starting to get more and more pissed as the season progresses. He's talking about I want to be traded. He hasn't said he wants to be traded, but there's rumors that he's wanting to be out of there. And Garoppolo is just horrible. They'd be better running O'Donnell out there or O'Connell, whatever the hell that backup quarterback's name is. Now, I don't want to disrespect the backup O'Donnell,
Hoyer.
O'Connell.
Hoyer's one that played last week.
Yeah, but I just said they'd be better
Oh, I
off
know.
running
Oh, I
O'Connell
know.
out
Yeah,
there
no,
than
I know.
Hoyer,
Hoyer was I know. That's why I was surprised. But
right?
and that's what I don't get about McDaniels. He was upset about O'Connell's last game. Oh, you can't do that in the NFL. Hoyer looked like crap, man.
Yeah, yeah. I like O'Connell. From what I've seen of those three quarterbacks, I like Aiden O'Connell, man. I like what I've seen out of him, and he hasn't really shown much, but looks like he has a little spunk to him, a little fire, like he's out there trying to win a game. We already know what we got with Hoyer, and he's the boy from New England way back in the day. So Josh is still like loving this guy. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, we both have Detroit. It could be a tough game. I'm not excited about the game either way for a Monday night game. I'm not sure how much I'll be watching this game. I'll watch, a good portion of it. But if it's entertaining, that'll be cool. I'll stay through the end. But if it's not, I might have to jump on some COD or something during this game, or maybe we'll start our recap, during that game or something like that. But anyway, so that's it, man. That's what we got for this week. Um, Hopefully you guys got something good out of it, and hopefully we helped you and gave you some information that will help you pick your lineups and in daily fantasy on FanDuel and DraftKings. Thanks for listening. I'm Lonnie. He is Jake, and we'll catch you on the next one.